There is no hidden secret, only ignored fundamentals. For years, people have convinced themselves that success must be locked behind some mysterious door, available only to those who discover the magic combination. They wait for the breakthrough moment, the life-changing insight, the piece of information that suddenly makes everything easy. But life doesn't work that way. Life rewards the basics. And the basics are always available, always simple, always within reach. Yet most people walk right past them in search of something bigger. The fundamentals are not flashy because they demand effort. They require discipline. They ask you to show up even when you don't feel like it. They ask you to repeat small, simple actions long before any reward appears. That's why people avoid them. It's not that they don't know what to do, it's that they don't want to do what it takes. It's easier to believe in a hidden secret than it is to admit that your results are shaped by your habits. It's easier to ask, what am I missing? Than to ask, what am I neglecting? Anyone can read a book, wake up earlier, practice their craft, save a percentage of their income, talk to new people, or work on their mindset. These things don't require special talent. They don't require perfect timing. They don't require luck. They require willingness. And that's where the real challenge begins. The fundamentals demand consistency, and consistency is the one thing most people never master. They start strong and fade quickly. They want immediate results, not gradual progress. But fundamentals work through accumulation, small steps repeated daily until the compound effect takes over. Look at anyone who has built a meaningful life. You won't find secrets, you'll find routines. You'll find discipline. You'll find habits that look ordinary, but executed with extraordinary commitment. These individuals didn't stumble on success. They built it through repeated actions that anyone could have taken, but most people simply chose not to. Success comes to those who do what needs to be done long after the excitement wears off. That's the difference between someone who dreams and someone who achieves. The fundamentals also have a way of revealing who you become in the process. When you commit to the basics, you develop character. You develop patience. You develop internal strength. You build the kind of discipline that doesn't depend on motivation. And once you master yourself, life becomes easier. Not because challenges disappear, but because you become bigger than the challenges. People love to say that knowledge is power, but knowledge means nothing without consistent action. You can know every strategy, every technique, every principle. But if you refuse to apply them daily, they become useless. The fundamentals only work when you do. They only pay off when you stay committed long enough to see results. The biggest gap in life is the space between knowing and doing. And the fundamentals exist to close that gap. Stop looking for the secret and start respecting the basics. Success isn't hiding from you. It's waiting for your discipline. It's waiting for your habits to align with your goals. It's waiting for you to do what you already know you must do. The fundamentals have always been the path. They remain the path. And if you give them your commitment, they will take you anywhere you want to go. The search for shortcuts is really an escape from responsibility, and most people don't even realize they're doing it. They think they're being efficient, clever, or strategic, but in truth, they're avoiding the uncomfortable truth that real progress requires real effort. It's much easier to believe there's a hidden trick someone else knows than to accept that discipline. Patience and consistency are the true engines of success. When you're looking for shortcuts, you're not actually chasing achievement. You're trying to dodge the price that achievement demands. People say they want success, but what they usually want is success without sacrifice. They want growth without the grind, improvement without inconvenience, results without responsibility. That's why shortcuts feel attractive. They promise speed. They promise ease. They promise outcomes without the uncomfortable in between. But shortcuts rarely deliver what they advertise. Even when they seem to work for a moment, they collapse under pressure because they lack the foundation that only discipline can build. Responsibility requires you to say, if it's going to happen, it's up to me. That sentence is powerful, but for many, it's frightening. Because the moment you admit you're in control, you also admit you're accountable. If you succeed, you earned it. If you fail, you contributed to it. Responsibility eliminates excuses, and excuses are what most people use to stay comfortable. Searching for shortcuts becomes a way to delay this moment of truth. As long as you're researching, preparing, or waiting for the right method, you don't have to begin. You can stay in motion without making progress. But here's the irony. The time people spend chasing shortcuts is often far longer than the time it would have taken to do the work properly. Shortcut mindset turns into a loop. Trying new hacks, abandoning them, searching for something better, starting over. Years go by, and nothing really changes except the person becomes more frustrated, more confused, and more convinced that success is complicated. Meanwhile, the person who accepted responsibility early on simply kept showing up, doing the basics, improving slowly, stacking one good decision on top of another. And at the end of the year, the one who embraced responsibility stands miles ahead of the one who kept searching for something easier. Success is simple, but it isn't easy. It's built on habits you repeat long after the excitement fades. Built on consistency you maintain even when you don't feel motivated. It's built on small disciplines that compound into large results. None of this feels like a shortcut, but it is the most direct path you'll ever find. When you take responsibility, you stop drifting, you stop waiting, you stop hoping someone else will hand you the key. You become the one who builds the key. And once you embrace responsibility, something remarkable happens. Life becomes clearer. Instead of looking for the perfect plan, you work with the plan you have. Instead of seeking inspiration, you rely on commitment. Instead of running from effort, you make effort your ally. And while others keep searching for that one breakthrough technique, you create breakthroughs through steady, deliberate progress. The truth is, shortcuts aren't shortcuts at all. They are detours, long, exhausting, and disappointing. Responsibility is the only straight line to your goals. When you stop escaping it, you start accelerating. And when you finally own your journey, every step you take begins to count. Success is a process, not a puzzle. It isn't something you decode once and suddenly everything falls into place. It's something you build shape and refine over time. The problem is that most people treat success like a mystery they need to solve instead of a journey they need to walk. They keep waiting for the perfect answer, the perfect plan, the perfect moment. But success does not respond to waiting. It responds to working, learning, adjusting, and persisting. Every day you show up, even in small ways, you add another piece to your foundation. And the stronger the foundation, the higher you can build. When you think of success as a process, you stop expecting overnight transformation. You stop comparing your beginning to someone else's middle. You stop beating yourself up for not having everything figured out. You understand that mastery lies in repetition, discipline, and patience. You realize the person you become along the way matters far more than the milestone you're chasing. And you start to appreciate the long, steady climb instead of resenting it. Because the climb is where you gain the strength to handle the summit. The real magic happens in the daily habits you practice when no one is watching. The decisions you make in quiet moments. The discipline you show when motivation is absent. Success grows in those invisible spaces long before you see any visible results. It's like planting seeds. For weeks, maybe months, nothing seems to happen above the soil. But below the surface, something powerful is taking place. Roots are forming, strength is developing, And suddenly one day, growth appears, not because of a secret, but because of steady, unseen work. The process also teaches you what the shortcut never will: resilience. When you face setbacks, you learn. When you encounter delays, you adjust. When things go wrong, you become wiser. Shortcuts rob you of these lessons, and without the lessons, you're not prepared for the responsibility that real success brings. The process shapes your character so you can hold the success you earn. Without the process, success would collapse the moment pressure arrives. Another benefit of embracing the process is clarity. When you consistently work on your craft, your goals start to sharpen. Your strengths become clearer. Your vision becomes more defined. You begin to see opportunities others miss because you've trained yourself to think, prepare, and act with purpose. The puzzle pieces don't magically align. You align them through effort, focus, and perseverance. Success stops feeling confusing the moment you stop searching for the right answer and start building the right habits. You realize you don't need to know every step, just the next one. You don't need the full blueprint, just the willingness to keep moving. The process, if you commit to it, reveals everything you need to learn. It opens doors at the right time. It brings the right people, the right opportunities, and the right challenges into your life exactly when you're ready for them. So stop waiting for the perfect strategy to appear. Stop assuming someone else knows more than you. Stop believing success belongs to a lucky few. Success belongs to the consistent, the patient, the disciplined, the ones who take small steps every day, even when the finish line feels far away. The process is not glamorous, but it is guaranteed. And if you trust it, stay with it, and grow through it, you'll discover that success was never a puzzle at all. It was simply a path you had to walk. Value attracts success. It always has, and it always will. Success is not a trick of luck, nor a favor handed to a chosen few. It is a natural consequence, a response to the value you bring into the world. People often ask why some individuals seem to draw opportunities, resources, and support effortlessly. They assume it must be connections, talent, or some hidden advantage. But the truth is simpler. Life pays those who have invested in themselves enough to become valuable. When you become a person of depth, discipline, skill, and integrity, success becomes almost unavoidable. Value begins with who you decide to become. It's not about pretending to be impressive. It's about earning the right to stand tall. When you learn more, you can contribute more. When you practice more, you can deliver more. When you discipline yourself, you can be trusted with more. Success follows value the way shadows follow light. You don't chase it. You grow into it. Most people want better results without becoming better themselves. They want wealth without developing the habits that create wealth. They want recognition without doing the work worthy of recognition. They want opportunities without preparing for them. But life doesn't operate on wishes. It operates on worthiness. The world responds to value the way a magnet responds to metal, automatically. To become valuable, you must commit to constant improvement. Read the books that stretch your thinking. Learn the skills that make you indispensable. Strengthen the discipline that others admire but rarely practice. Every hour invested in your growth becomes a seed that eventually produces reward. You cannot always control the timing of the harvest, but you can always control the planting. And sooner or later, the world takes notice of the person who shows up prepared, knowledgeable, and consistent. Value also attracts trust. People want to work with someone who follows through. Leaders want to promote people who take initiative. Clients want to hire those who deliver excellence. Your reputation becomes a currency, and value is what grows it. When you become known as the person who improves any team, any project, any environment, your phone starts ringing. Opportunities begin to look for you. And remember, this value is not built in a day, but it is built daily. As small disciplines practiced consistently become powerful over time. A few minutes of learning each day leads to expertise. A bit of courage each day leads to confidence. A little effort beyond what's required leads to excellence. Success is rarely one big leap. It's the accumulation of small steps done better than the average person is willing to do. Value also attracts the right people. When you become ambitious, disciplined, and growth-minded, you naturally outgrow those who are stuck in excuses. You begin to meet people who think bigger, act smarter, and move faster. Your circle upgrades as your character upgrades. And when your environment improves, your opportunities expand even more. The beautiful thing is that anyone can become valuable. You don't need permission, connections, or a perfect background. You only need a decision. A decision to stop waiting for success and start preparing for it. Because preparation itself is a form of value. Discipline is value. Curiosity is value. Integrity is value. Effort is value. When you improve yourself, life improves with you. When you grow, your results grow. When you bring more to the table, the world gives more back. That is why value attracts success, not by accident, not by magic, but by the simple law that what you become determines what you receive. So choose to become valuable and watch how success begins to follow your footsteps. Action defeats excuses every time. It's a simple statement, but it carries a lifetime of truth. Excuses can sound brilliant, polished, and convincing, but they never move your life 1 inch forward. Action, even in small, uncertain, imperfect steps, has the power to transform everything. Excuses are the language of limitation. Action is the language of possibility. And every day, knowingly or not, you choose which language you speak. Most people don't fail because of a lack of talent or opportunity. They fail because they let excuses talk them out of acting on the opportunities they already have. The mind is clever. It will give you every reason why today isn't the right day, why you're not ready, why conditions aren't perfect, why you should wait, delay, gather more information, or hope for a better moment. But the truth is, you don't need a perfect moment. You only need a starting point. Action creates clarity, while excuses create confusion. When you begin, even with small steps, the path becomes visible. When you delay, the path becomes foggy. You don't have to be the strongest, the smartest, or the best prepared. You only have to be the one who's willing to act when others hesitate. Think about it, the world is full of talented people with unused potential, full of dreamers with plans they never begin, full of individuals waiting for the right time, hoping for inspiration instead of building discipline. Success doesn't favor the dreamer, it favors the doer. The moment you act, even imperfectly, you put yourself ahead of thousands who are still planning, still thinking, still waiting. Action also builds confidence. You don't become confident first and then act. You act first and become confident because of the action. Each step, each attempt, each moment of effort tells your mind, I am capable. I am moving. I am trying. And with every act, your fear shrinks, your courage grows, and your excuses lose their power. That's why the people who succeed are not always the most gifted. They are simply the ones who refuse to let excuses rule their decisions. Excuses, on the other hand, steal your future one day at a time. They sound harmless. I'll start tomorrow. I'm too tired. I don't know enough. It's too hard. I'm not ready. But all excuses have a cost, and it's paid in regret. A year from now, you won't remember the reasons you didn't act. You'll only feel the weight of the time you lost. On the other hand, the actions you take, no matter how small, become seeds. Seeds of progress, seeds of skill, seeds of discipline, seeds of success. And seeds always grow. Action creates results, momentum, and new opportunities. When you move, life moves with you. People notice you. Doors open, skills sharpen, ideas evolve. But none of this happens for the person who stays still. Standing still guarantees only one thing: everything stays the same. So when your mind whispers excuses, answer with action. When fear rises, answer with action. When doubt appears, answer with action. When the road feels long, answer with action. You don't need to know the whole way forward. Just take the next step. The habit of action is more valuable than the illusion of perfection. In the end, the difference between the life you want and the life you tolerate often comes down to a single decision. Will you act or will you excuse? Because every time you choose action, you win. And every time you choose excuses, you lose. Action is the great separator, the great transformer, and the great advantage. Act today and watch how everything begins to change. You are the real deciding factor. That's the truth most people overlook because it places responsibility right back where it belongs. Life becomes clearer the moment you realize that nothing changes until as you change. Not the economy, not the environment, not luck, not timing. The real breakthrough begins the day you decide to take ownership of your habits, your mindset, and your direction. People often hope that success will arrive from somewhere outside themselves. A mentor, a miracle, a moment of inspiration. But the greatest advantage you will ever have is your willingness to step forward and take control of your own development. Everything in life responds to the person you become. If you grow stronger, opportunities look bigger. If you grow wiser, decisions become clearer. If you grow more disciplined, results become more predictable. Success doesn't respond to wishes, it responds to maturity. That means your daily choices are far more powerful than any external factor. The books you read, the conversations you entertain, the routines you build, the goals you set, these quiet choices shape your destiny long before anyone sees the results. You don't need the world to change in your favor. You need to change in a way that the world can't help but notice. The moment you accept that your future depends on your actions, everything becomes simpler. Not easier, but simpler. You don't have to wait for permission. You don't have to wait for motivation. You don't have to wait for the right time. You act because action is what transforms potential into progress. Most people lose years waiting to feel ready, not realizing that readiness grows from movement, not from hesitation. When you act, you learn. When you learn, you adjust. And when you adjust, you advance. That's the cycle of growth. And it starts with a decision only you can make. You also become the deciding factor by controlling your environment, your influences, habits, and surroundings. If you fill your mind with distractions, your results will be scattered. If you surround yourself with small thinkers, your dreams will shrink to fit their comfort zones. But if you choose discipline, if you choose learning, if you choose people who challenge you, life begins to rise to match your new standards. Standards determine outcomes, and your standards are entirely in your control. The truth is, life will not hand you what you want. It will hand you what you are prepared for. If you want success, prepare for it with discipline. If you want opportunity, prepare with skill. If you want confidence, prepare with practice. There is nothing unfair about this system. It is beautifully predictable. The more you improve, the better your chances become. The world is full of people hoping for success, but unwilling to transform themselves into someone who can handle it. Real growth happens when you stop hoping and start becoming. So decide who you want to be. Decide what habits you will build. Decide what standards you will never again compromise. Decide how hard you will work, how long you will persist, and how much value you will create. These decisions, repeated daily, become the force that shapes your future. And the day you realize that your life is the result of your own choices, not circumstances, is the day you step into true power. Because in the end, you are the real deciding factor, always have been, always will be.